Chris Paul, I love you, my brother. I respect your game. I think you're insane with the handles. I know you good with the passes, great with the passes, but the whole Chris Paul demanding the trade to Houston, I think that's one of his biggest mistakes. I think that's gonna hurt his career more than it's gonna help it. You know, a lot of people are saying, well, Doc Rivers was to blame. You know, Doc Rivers played Austin too much or didn't start him enough when Chris Paul asked him to do it. At the end of the day, that's irrelevant. There have been multiple times where CP3 and company have been in a winning position and they blew it. And there's not Doc Rivers' fault that you did it. 3 years ago, they had a chance to go up on OKC. I believe it was like 3-1. It was like a minute and 11 seconds left in the game. They had a 10-point lead. They blew a whole 11-point lead. And that wasn't Doc Rivers' fault. That was your fault. That was you guys' fault. Then you had a 3-1 lead against Houston. Houston sat James Harden on the bench. And you guys were unable to close out the game. Absolutely made no sense. You know, CP3 wanted Doc Rivers. He got him. You know, everything basically you asked for, you got. You got a new owner when the whole, you know, racist owner situation was going on. So it's just like, basically, I feel like it's a double whammy on CP3. Number one, he's leaving money on the table. Like, he's leaving like I apologize. About $180 million on the table just to go to a place where he could do the same thing what he's doing now, which is losing. CP3 going to Houston does not guarantee that he's going to go to the finals, even the Western Conference Finals. You still have to contend with the Spurs. On top of that, if you face the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals, you're going to get kicked out of you. So it's just like, I understand he wants to win and et cetera, but if you ask me, the Clippers team has way more talent than the Houston Rockets. You have Blake Griffin. You have DeAndre Jordan. You have a rim protector. On top of that, you got a power forward who, when you give him the ball, he could score the basketball. He could jam on people. He could rebound the ball really well. You have a knockdown shooter in JJ Redick. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have Jamal Crawford coming off the bench. You can argue that this free agency, if Chris Paul stayed in you know, with the Clippers, and they trade DeAndre Jordan for a few more pieces, the Clippers are retooled and ready to go. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that was odd to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? But you know, I understand his motives because he wants to win. But here's the essential problem, and this is why this whole thing in Houston is not gonna work. You know, it's gonna look good. Maybe I think they're gonna struggle. Then they're gonna look good. After like 4 months, they're going to start looking good. Then playoff time is going to come. They're going to struggle mightily. Chris Paul is a player that in his entire career, he should be averaging 15 to 20 assists for his entire career. I've seen multiple times, many times, where Chris Paul attacks the basket, or he's dribbling the ball, he's killing the grass, he's killing the weeds, he's basically killing the dirt itself. He dribbles the ball way too much. He's missed a ton of guys for easy shots. Chris Paul in his entire career should be averaging 15 to 20 assists. And the fact that he's not doing that for his entire career, I've never seen a player better at getting to the spots that he wants to, better at breaking down the defense, better at making the pocket pass. But his assists ain't even on par. Like, his talent is so great. Like, I don't even think he understands how great he is. Chris Paul is basically a 6'2" or 6'1" version of LeBron James. He could play just like LeBron. He could get to the basket. He could shoot the mid range. That's something that LeBron can't do. Chris Paul has somewhat of a jumper. He could make passes. He's a great defender. I mean, he does it all. But the simple fact that he didn't trust his teammates enough on the Clippers to give him the ball, you know, and just let them go to work. Like, Blake Griffin had a ton of times where he was requesting the ball, never got it. Especially down in the lane. Like, him and James Harden are basically the same player, and you got to look at James Harden where he's like, okay, bring in CP3, I'm gonna play off the ball more, etc., etc. But both of these guys love to have the ball in their hands, and this whole Mike D'Antoni system is made so one primary ball handler, which is James Harden, attacks the basket and creates for everybody else. Now you got two primary ball handlers. That's going to cause somewhat of confusion because the player's going to have to adjust from CP3, who likes to shoot a bunch of mid-range jumpers and dribble the ball a lot, like Steve Francis. There you go. That's a prime example. CP3 is like a better version of Steve Francis, where Steve Francis could get anywhere he wanted, but he just kept dribbling the ball. That's what CP3 does. And then like you have, James Harden likes to shoot a lot of threes, and I don't see how these two are gonna gel and against elite teams. Because here's another thing that both teams could do: they could just basically double up on both of them and say, okay, Ariza beat me from 3, Nene beat me from 2. That's what you're gonna say. Like, you're gonna trap CP3 and you're gonna deny Harden, like, because Mike D'Antoni doesn't run plays. It's just like 7 seconds or less, shoot the ball, pick and roll, shoot the ball. Chris Paul is he does a great job with the pick and roll, but I feel like he would benefit more if he would just trust some good coaching and trust his teammates. He doesn't trust any of his teammates, and that's why he's been struggling to even get to the Western Conference Finals. He doesn't trust his teammate. He never trusted Blake Griffin, never trusted DeAndre Jordan, never trusted Redick. He never trusted not a soul because he feels like nobody could do the job better than he can. Now you're asking us to have him trust James Harden? I don't see how that's gonna work out. I really don't see how that's gonna work out. That's oil and vinegar basically. You're trying to, two guys that like to have the ball in their hand, like to run pick and roll, basically the same way. You're asking two guys to do two different. You're asking like a leopard to change his spots basically. You want James Harden to come off the ball more and not request the ball. Well, in his entire career from OKC to Houston, he has the ball in his hand. That's the way he's most successful. Then you're asking CP3 to dribble the ball less, shoot more threes. Chris Paul, they say he's like a 43% three-point shooter when he's open. Chris Paul's not a great three-point shooter. He's a decent three-point shooter. He's not a great three-point shooter. You're asking him to shoot 4 to 5 more threes a game. That's not his game. You want him to shoot less mid-range, shoot more threes. I don't see how that's gonna work. Darryl Morey is very aggressive. I believe he feels like, all right, I know what I'm doing, because he's trying to unload Ryan Anderson so they could bring Melo in or something like that. But here's the deal. The team is going to start and stop with your best players. If your best players can't figure it out, then nothing's going to get done. And then what happened with the whole trade situation, you give up Beverly. You give up Lou Williams. Lou Williams was one of the key guys that, he could drain, get 17 off the bench and stuff like that. You want Eric Gordon to come off the bench, which he could possibly do that, but in the playoffs, the whole Houston Rockets team got exposed. And I just don't understand why CP3 would want to go to a place where basically it's shoot threes, run and gun, and CP3 is not even that kind of guy. He likes to control the pace. Slow it down. I'm running this play. Let's get into gear. And then on top of that, you want him to play with a guy with James Harden who's not even like the best defender. And it's hard enough for CP3 who has to guard Stephen Curry, Russell Westbrook, Damian Lillard. Yes, every night is like hell for him. But then you want him to play with a guy who's not great on defense. Guys are like, people are saying, well, it's James Harden's gonna have rest. He's not gonna have his defense is gonna improve since he has less obligation on the offensive end. Says who? If James Harden wanted to be like a great defender, he could be it. We haven't seen it from him in all these seasons, so we're not going to see it this upcoming season. After a while, players just become who they are because guys don't really believe in getting better anymore every year. You know, that kind of stopped with Kobe and, like, basically like LeBron. Like, I feel like Durant has adopted that mentality, but I mean, in general, across the league, guys haven't really gotten better. Like, you just watch a lot of guys, like, in the NBA, they get better on one thing, offense. Most NBA players just get better on offense. Rarely you see a guy get better on defense. Rarely you see a guy improve his free throw shooting. These guys just don't really believe in improvements. I don't see where just because CP3 comes on the team, that makes James Harden a better defender. And at the end of the day, if your best player isn't a better defender, I mean, that just trickles down. You know what I'm saying? You got to play teams like San Antonio, Golden State. They're going to pick you apart. And you got Chris Paul getting upset about everything. He'll be like, damn, I could have just lost in LA. I could have had 180 mil, just like Stephen Curry got his 200 mil. I could get me an extra 180 mil, 5-year, $200 million deal. But I just don't see where this is gonna work. I wish CP3 nothing but the best. I hope this decision does work out for him in a way. But the way that the West is stacked up, especially like with the Timberwolves adding Jimmy Butler, San Antonio Spurs making the move, just the Spurs themselves. Period. When they're in their form, yeah, even Golden State possibly got a scare from them in the playoffs. So then you have Golden State, which is a juggernaut within itself. I don't see it. I don't see how that's gonna gel. I don't see it. You're talking about a team that barely plays defense. You want to get rid of Ryan Anderson. So now what that does is it creates a team where you're not going to be shooting. If you shoot 40 or 50 threes, your percentage is going to decrease dramatically. Even if you get Melo, I don't even think Melo will be used to shooting all those kind of threes all the time because Melo gets tired too. Like, he's an older guy. So CP3, I hope this works out for you, my man. I don't know, man. I don't know. Let me know what you think about this whole CP3 in Houston. I think it's very awkward. I feel like if he stayed with the Clippers, they would have busted a couple of moves to be right back in the conversation. But he just didn't give him a chance anymore because he was fed up. At the same time, though, he has to take some kind of responsibility because here's the thing. With CP3, I'm not going to disrespect him. But when people say he's overrated, you can't even argue that anymore. You can't say, well, he's not overrated. CP3 is statistically one of the top 5 point guards that ever played a game. His results, though, horrible. So you can't even, argue and say he's not overrated. Because he has all the accolades, the numbers, the all-star appearances, but when it's crunch time, his teams can't get it done. And he's the best. He's always has been the best player on his team. So that rests on his shoulders. And now he's going to Houston where I guess James Harden is the best player on the team. But at the end of the day, if he doesn't find a way to win in Houston, then, when somebody says he's overrated, you just got to swallow. You got to eat crow. This is Vlad from Hoops Junction with Hoops Meets Hoopla. Peace.